In this very video that you're watching right now, what I want to do is review some practical English phrases used by native speakers to fill the gaps in their conversations or while talking about something in English. The first English idiom is to be to the point. To be to the point. When we say someone is to the point, what we mean is what someone is saying is accurate, or someone is saying or writing something in an accurate or exact way, in a direct and relevant way. An example of this phrase: his feedback was very short and to the point, with no unnecessary details. His feedback was very short and to the point, with no unnecessary details, meaning that his feedback was very short, but up to the point, which means very direct, straightforward, and relevant or clear, with no unnecessary details, with nothing extra that would throw you into confusion, with nothing extra that would add to the confusion or make things more complicated to understand. Now we get to the second phrase commonly used by native speakers that you should use in order to make your conversation look more advanced, which is to be beside the point. To be beside the point. Once again, to be beside the point. But what does this phrase mean? What does it mean when we say something is beside the point, or what someone is saying is beside the point? Do you remember the very last phrase that we just talked about at the beginning of today's video? It was to the point. What does it mean? It means to be direct, relevant, and clear, especially relevant to the topic of the conversation, to the topic being discussed. But when we say something is beside the point, it has the exact opposite meaning of being to the point. When something is beside the point, it is irrelevant to the topic of the conversation, or it is confusing, or it is not accurate, it is not clear, or it is completely irrelevant or unrelated to the topic being discussed. An example of this phrase: yes, you were tired, but that's beside the point. You still missed the deadline. Yes, you were tired, but that's beside the point. You still missed the deadline, which means, yes, you were tired, but that's irrelevant to the topic of the conversation. You just missed the deadline. The important thing that needs to be discussed is the fact that you missed the deadline, but the fact that you were late is not going to change anything. It's just an excuse that you're making up. Is beside the point. Is not relevant to the main conversation or to the topic of the conversation. Now we get to the third phrase used by native speakers that you may not see in any textbooks or you may not learn in any English class, which is the catch is that, what is the meaning of this phrase? What does it mean when we say the catch is that whatever, blah, blah, blah? The catch is that means there's a problem with something, or the disadvantage to something is something. This phrase is used to introduce a disadvantage to something, or a problem, a hidden problem with something. An example of this phrase: they're giving away free tickets. The catch is that you have to line up at 5 a.m. They're giving away free tickets. The catch is that they have to line up at 5 a.m. Once again, they're giving away free tickets. The catch is that you have to line up at 5 a.m., which means they're giving away free tickets, which is wonderful, but the hidden problem is, the hidden disadvantage to it is that you have to wake up too early in the morning. You have to line up at 5 a.m., which is too early in the morning. So as you saw in the sentence, the catch is that is used to introduce a hidden problem or a hidden disadvantage to something that looks good at first, but later on is found to be disappointing or is seen as a huge disadvantage, as a significant disadvantage to something. Now we get to the fourth English idiom used by native speakers, especially if you watch movies or have a conversation with native speakers, that you cannot find in any textbooks or English classes, which is to upset the apple cart. To upset the apple cart. Once again, to upset the apple cart. But what happens when someone upsets the apple cart? To upset the apple cart means to ruin a plan, or to disturb the way things get done, or to disturb the normal course of events, usually unintentionally, usually indeliberately. So, to upset the apple cart means to ruin a plan or to disturb the way something gets done or the process of something getting done, usually unintentionally or indeliberately. We had everything ready for the event, but then Mark quit and upset the apple cart. We had everything ready for the event, but then Mark quit and upset the apple cart, which means we had everything ready for the event, but suddenly, unexpectedly, and unintentionally or indeliberately, Mark quit and disturbed all our plans or ruined all our plans. The fifth English idiom that you cannot find in any textbooks or you cannot learn in any English class, I bet you've never learned in any English class is to get your point across. To get your point across. Once again, to get your point across. When you get your point across, you say something clearly in a way that others understand your message, understand what you're saying, understand the point that you're trying to make. So when you get your point across, you say something so clearly and transparently that everyone understands what you're saying, or everyone understands the point that you're trying to make. An example of this phrase: he speaks fast, but he always gets his point across. He speaks fast, but he speaks fast, but he always gets his point across. He speaks fast, but he always gets his point across, which means he speaks fast, but despite the fact that he speaks fast, he speaks so clearly, so transparently that everyone understands what he is saying, or everyone understands the point he's trying to make. Now we get to the final phrase of today's video used by native speakers that cannot be found in any English books, in any textbooks, that you gotta learn, that you will not be able to learn in any English class other than this video that you're watching right now, which is no pun intended. No pun intended. Once again, no pun intended. But what does this phrase mean? What does it mean when a native speaker says, hey, this and that and this and that and blah, 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 no pun intended? They usually say a couple of things, say a couple of sentences, then they say, hey, no pun intended. Well, no pun intended means I'm not trying to make a joke about something. I'm serious. I'm not joking about something. I'm not trying to make a joke about something. So no pun intended is a phrase used to emphasize that you're serious and you're not trying to make a joke about something. One example of this phrase: she really nailed the interview. She works in construction. By the way, no pun intended. She really nailed the interview. She works in construction. And by the way, no pun intended, which means she did pretty well in the interview. She came out of interview smelling of roses. She succeeded in the interview, and she works in construction as well. By the way, no pun intended. By the way, I'm serious. I don't mean to make a joke about it. I'm not trying to make a joke about it. And that's about all, guys. You learned 5 practical and useful English idioms and phrases in today's video by watching it that you cannot find in any English books or in any English classes, but this video made it possible for you to do so. Let's review these phrases once again together. Be to the point. Be to the point. Be to the point. Be beside the point. Be beside the point. Be beside the point. The catch is that. The catch is that. The catch is that. Upset the apple cart. Upset the apple cart. Upset the apple cart. Get your point across. Get your point across. Get your point across. No pun intended. No pun intended. No pun intended. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you like this video in support of this channel. And thank you for doing so. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video. Students always have difficulty using the structure of either or neither nor. They cannot recognize either or from neither nor, or they sometimes mistake one structure for the other. They don't know why they're used, how they can use them, and what the real meaning of these structures is. In today's video, I will be focusing your attention on these two grammatical structures, how they're formed, what we mean by using them, and why we should use them. Are you ready? Of course you are. So let's get started. First of all, let's begin with the structure of either or. Either or. Either A or B, either X or Y, either something or something else. This structure, either or, emphasizes that we're only choosing one of the two possible options or choices. We're only choosing one item, one thing, or one person between two things, two items, or two choices. So by using either or, we're talking about only one of the two options or choices that we're talking about or we have available. And keep in mind that the subject closest to the verb determines the verb agreement after either. And here is the structure of either or. Either plus verbs, nouns or noun phrases, plus or, plus verbs, nouns, or noun phrases. Let me provide you with 5 examples of this structure. You can either call me or send me a message. You can either call me or send me a message, which means you can call me or send me a message. There's only one possibility. There's only one thing that you can do. You can either call me or send me a text message. So there's only one thing that you can do. You cannot do both at the same time. You can only do one of them. Either John or Sarah is coming to the party. Either John or Sarah is coming to the party, which means only one of them will come to the party. It's not both of them coming to the party. Only one of them will come to the party. Either Sarah or John is coming to the party. We'll either go hiking or stay home, depending on the weather. We'll either go hiking or stay home, depending on the weather. Once again, we'll either go hiking or stay home, depending on the weather, which means we will only do one of these two things. We will only focus on one of these two items. We will go hiking or we will stay home. We're not going to do both of them. We will only do one of them. Depending on the weather, we will only do one of them. So we will either go hiking or stay home, depending on the weather. You can either have tea or coffee. You can either have tea or coffee, which means you can have only one. You cannot have both at the same time. You can only have one of them. You can only have tea or coffee. So you can either have tea or coffee. You can't have them both. You can have only one of them. Either the teacher or the students have misunderstood the task. Either the teacher or the students have misunderstood the task, which means students or the teacher, one of them. One of these two. Students or the teacher may have misunderstood the task. We're not saying that both of them, both the students and the teacher, have misunderstood the task. We're just saying that only one of them, only one of these two, has misunderstood the task. So this is all about the grammatical structure of either or. So when we say either A or B, it means A or B, not both of them, not the two of them, only one of them. Now we're talking about the structure of neither nor, which is a pretty similar structure to either or. So neither nor. Either comes with or, neither comes with nor. But why do we use neither nor? What do we exactly mean by using this structure? Well, when we say neither X nor B, when we say neither A nor B, we're saying not X, not B, none of them. When we say neither X nor Y, it means not X and not Y, none of them. So by using neither nor, we're talking about none of the two options that we're talking about, none of the two people, choices, options, or items being discussed. So neither nor means none of the two options or items being discussed. And the closest subject to the verb determines the verb agreement after neither. And keep in mind that neither is basically and fundamentally negative on its own. It's negative by nature. So when we use verbs after neither, we should use positive verbs. We should use positive auxiliary verbs or positive modal verbs. Why? Because neither itself is already negative by nature. So we should use positive verbs when forming negative sentences. And here is the structure. Neither plus nouns plus verbs, or noun phrases plus nor plus nouns, verbs, or noun phrases. Let me provide you with 5 examples of this structure. Neither Jack nor Sarah came to the party. Neither Jack nor Sarah came to the party, which means not Jack and not Sarah came to the party. None of them came to the party. She likes neither coffee nor tea. She likes neither coffee nor tea, which means she doesn't like tea and she doesn't like coffee. She doesn't like any of them. She likes none of them. Neither the teacher nor the students were prepared. Neither the teacher nor the students were prepared, which means the teacher was not prepared, the students were not prepared either. Both of them were not prepared, so none of these two was prepared. I speak neither French nor Spanish. I speak neither French nor Spanish, which means I don't speak French, I don't speak Spanish either. I speak none of these two languages. I don't speak any of these two languages. Neither the phone nor the laptop is working. Neither the phone nor the laptop is working, which means the laptop is not working and the phone is not working either. None of these two is working. None of them is working. So by using the structure of either A or B, we're talking about only one of the two things we're talking about. But by using the structure of neither A nor B, we're talking about none of the two things, items, or people being discussed or we're talking about. So either or refers to one person, thing, or item. Neither nor refers to no person, item, or thing. And this is how we use the structures of either or, neither nor. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you form some sentences using these two structures, and don't forget to comment them down below. I'll be reading those sentences and correcting them for you. And make sure you like this video in support of this channel. Thank you for doing so, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video. In today's video, what I want to talk about is some practical and highly useful English idioms that you need to know and also learn how to use to be able to speak better or at a more advanced level. Are you ready to get started? Of course you are, so let's do it. The first English idiom of today's video is to make a mess of something. To make a mess of something. Once again, to make a mess of something. But what does it mean when we say someone is making a mess of something or you've made a mess of something? Well, to make a mess of something means to do something badly, incorrectly, or terribly. To do something at a very poor quality, or to do something that is not correct. So when you make a mess of something, you do something incorrectly, poorly, or terribly. An example of this phrase: he really made a mess of his presentation by forgetting his notes. He really made a mess of his presentation by forgetting his notes, which means he did his presentation poorly, terribly, and badly, or incorrectly. How? By forgetting his notes. So he made a mess of his presentation by forgetting his notes. Have you ever made a mess of something? Usually people make a mess of things when they just start working somewhere as a new employee. What about you? Have you ever made a mess of doing something in your workplace as a new employee or as someone who's just started their job? I want you to comment the answer down below and tell me about an occasion in which you made a mess of something as a result of lacking experience or knowledge. Now we proceed to the second English idiom of today's video that if you know, you can speak English much better at a more advanced level, which is something doesn't bear thinking about. Something doesn't bear thinking about. Once again, something does not bear thinking about. When we say something doesn't bear thinking about, it means something is so annoying, unpleasant, so inappropriate, something is so bad that someone does not even want to think about it. Someone does not even want to consider it. Once again, when something doesn't bear thinking about, it is so annoying, upsetting, unpleasant, or bad that someone does not even want to consider it. Someone does not even want to think about it. An example of this phrase: the idea of losing her children in the accident doesn't bear thinking about. The idea of losing your children in the accident doesn't bear thinking about, which means the idea of losing your children in the accident is not what she really wants to think about, or is the last thing that she wants to think about, or she does not even want to think about it because it is so annoying and upsetting that she does not even want to consider it. She does not even want to imagine it or think about it. So something doesn't bear thinking about. Is there anything that you believe does not bear thinking about? What is it? And why do you think it doesn't bear thinking about? Comment the answers down below and explain why you believe It is what doesn't bear thinking about. Now we move to the third English idiom of today's video, that if you know your English is wonderful, awesome, and you can speak English at a more advanced level, which is there is money to be made in something. There is money to be made in something. Once again, there is money to be made in something. When we say there is money to be made in something, it means something is profitable. An activity is profitable or is lucrative. By doing something, by doing an activity, you can make a lot of money. So when we say there's money to be made in something, it means a business is profitable or an activity is profitable or successful financially, or if you do something, you can make a lot of money out of it. So there is money to be made in something. You can use this idiom the next time you're talking to your friends or your colleagues to whom you want to say, hey, I believe something is profitable. I believe you can make a lot of money by doing something. Instead of saying you can make a lot of money by doing something or something is profitable, you can simply say, hey, there is money to be made in something, and make your sentence look more advanced, right? So instead of saying, hey, I believe something is profitable or you can make a lot of money by doing something, you can look more advanced by saying there is money to be made in something. An example of this phrase: there is money to be made in online education, especially with the rise of remote learning. Once again, there is money to be made in online education, especially with the rise of remote learning, which means you can make a lot of money by teaching online, or there is a lot of money that you can make by teaching online. It's a profitable business. It's pretty lucrative. It pays you well if you do it. So there is money to be made in online education, especially with the rise of remote learning. Now we get to the fourth English idiom of today's video, that if you know your English is advanced, or you can claim that your English is advanced and you can speak English as natives do, or you have a strong command of English vocabulary or idioms, which is to paint a rosy picture of something. To paint a rosy picture of something. Once again, to paint a rosy picture of something. But what does it mean when we say someone is painting a rosy picture of something? Well, to paint a rosy picture of something means to describe something in an extremely optimistic way, or to describe something in a way that, it has no problems, or to describe something in an excessively optimistic and idealistic way, often ignoring the problems or the disadvantages of it. So when you paint a rosy picture of something, you focus someone's attention only on the positives of something, the positive aspects of something, the bright side of something, and you do your best to hide its negatives, its, disadvantages or problems. So that's the meaning of to paint a rosy picture of something. An example of this phrase: the manager painted a rosy picture of the company's future, even though the profits were down. The manager painted a rosy picture of the company's future, even though the profits were down, which means the manager described the company in an excessively optimistic and idealistic way. By ignoring the existing problems, the manager focused everyone's attention only on the positive aspects of the company, the advantages of what the company is doing, by hiding the disadvantages or ignoring the downsides or the problems. Now we get to the fifth English idiom of today's video, that if you know, you can claim that you can speak English at an advanced level, which is to live within your means. To live within your means. Once again, to live within your means. But what does it mean when we say someone is living within their means? Well, to live within your means means to manage your finances, usually by spending less than the amount of money that you earn, to be able to manage your life without getting into debt, without running into debt, without amassing debt, without being indebted to anyone or having debts to anyone. Once again, when you live within your means, you try to spend as much money as you earn, or you try to spend less money than the amount that you earn to be able to manage your finances, or to be able to save money and not get into debt, or amass debts or borrow money from others, to be able to manage your life or your finances. An example of this phrase: if you want to save money, you need to live within your means and avoid unnecessary expenses. If you want to save more money, you need to live within your means and avoid unnecessary expenses, which means if you want to save more money, you need to live within your means. You need to spend less money than you earn and manage your finances. Spend less money, save more, and try to look for things at lower prices. Try to find bargains, or try to buy things when there are significant discounts on them, or to spend less money in order not to get into debt or avoid amassing debts. So if you really want to save more money, you need to live within your means and avoid unnecessary expenses. Now we get to the final phrase of today's video that you need to know to be able to speak English at an advanced level, which is to stand the test of time. To stand the test of time. Once again, to stand the test of time. But what does it mean when we say something stands the test of time? To stand the test of time means to remain high quality, reliable, durable, and strong, especially after a long period of time. When we say a product stands the test of time, it means that product stays reliable, high quality, strong, and without any damage or without any failures or problems after a long period of time, or as time passes, as time goes by. So to stand the test of time means to stay reliable, high quality, or to stay strong after a period of time, or as time goes on. An example of this phrase: Shakespeare's plays have really stood the test of time and are still relevant today. Shakespeare's plays have really stood the test of time and are still relevant today. Once again, Shakespeare's plays have really stood the test of time and are still relevant today, which means Shakespeare's plays have still stayed reliable, durable, strong, in other words, popular, and are still relevant today, and are still what people like to use, what people like to read. And that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching today's video to the end. Let's review these highly practical English phrases once again together. To make a mess of something. To make a mess of something. Something doesn't bear thinking about. Something doesn't bear thinking about. There is money to be made in something. There is money to be made in something. Paint a rosy picture of something. Paint a rosy picture of something. Live within your means. Live within your means. Stand the test of time. Stand the test of time. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you like it and support of this channel, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the differences between can, could, and be able to. The students know how to use can and could, but always feel confused about the structure of be able to, when and where it's used, and why we fundamentally use it. Why we use be able to instead of can and could. So let's get started with can. We can use can to talk about what we are able to do in the present tense, to talk about the present ability, to talk about permission, possibility, or to form polite requests. So we can use can in the present tense to form sentences emphasizing the ability to do something, the present ability, the ability to do something in the present. Let me give you some examples of can. She can speak 4 languages. She can speak 4 languages, which means she has the present ability to speak 4 languages. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? It is used to form a request, a polite request. Are you able to help me with this? Do you have the ability to help me with this? We can go to the beach today. We can go to the beach today, which means we're able to go to the beach today. We have the ability to go to the beach today. Only the staff can enter this area. Only the staff can enter this area, meaning that only the staff, the people working here, are allowed to enter this area. So we're talking about permission. I can hear music from the next room. I can hear music from the next room, which means I have the present ability to hear music from the next room. Now let's focus on could. We all know that we use the structure of could to talk about the past ability, to say that we were able to do something in the past, to refer to the general ability of doing something in the past. So the past form of can is could. Some examples of this structure. She could read when she was 3. She could read when she was 3, which means she had the past ability to read when she was 3. When we were kids, we could play outside for hours. When we were kids, we could play outside for hours, which means when we were kids, we had the past ability to play outside for hours. Or we were allowed to play outside for hours, or there was the possibility of playing outside for hours for us. Sorry, I couldn't understand the instructions. Sorry, I couldn't understand the instructions, which means, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't have the ability to understand the instructions. So we're emphasizing the past ability. So when we use could, actually one of the uses of could is when we want to emphasize the past ability. But the question arising now is, why do we use be able to? Why do we use native speakers use the structure of be able to? When we can use can and could, why do we use be able to talk about the ability to do something? Well, here is the important point. We can use can to talk about the ability to do something in the present. And we can use could to talk about the ability to do something in the past, or the past ability. But what about other tenses in English? What about the present perfect tense? What about the future tense? What about with modal verbs like may, might, must, should, would, will? What about with infinitives after to? What about any other tense in English? Can we use can and could in the present perfect tense? The answer is no. Can we use can and could with the future tense? The answer is no. Can we use can and could with other modal verbs or together with other modal verbs? With should, may, might, must? The answer is no. Can we use can and could after infinitives, after to? The answer is no. So whenever and wherever we're not allowed grammatically, and we're not able to use can and could to emphasize the ability to do something, we have to use the structure of be able to. So be able to provides us with the grammatical and structural access to talk about the ability to do something in any tense, in all tenses. So can is used to talk about the ability in the present, could is used to talk about the ability in the past, but be able to can be used to talk about the ability to do something in all tenses. In any tense in English, in any grammatical structure. And here is the structure of be able to. We have subject plus am, is, are, was, were, have been, has been, will be, can be, could be, should, maybe, might be, will be, would be, plus able to, plus verbs. The simple form of verbs without ed, to, and ing. Let me give you some examples of this structure. He hasn't been able to sleep well recently. He hasn't been able to sleep well recently, which means he hasn't had the ability to sleep well recently. So here is how we can use be able to in a present perfect sentence, or here is how we can emphasize the ability to do something or talk about the ability to do something by using a present perfect structure. We cannot use can and could with the present perfect structure, right? We cannot say he hasn't can sleep well or he hasn't could sleep well recently. So we use be able to. He hasn't been able to sleep well recently. Another example. Have you ever been able to travel to Japan? Have you ever been able to travel to Japan? Which means have you ever had the ability to travel to Japan? So here again we cannot use can and could to form this sentence. We cannot say have you ever could travel to Japan? Wrong. Have you ever can travel to Japan? Wrong. So we use be able to because we're not allowed to use can and could in the present perfect tense, but we can use be able to do so, to express the present perfect ability to do something. So we can say, have you ever been able to travel to Japan? One more example. You must be able to speak English. You must be able to speak English. One question, can we say, you must can speak English? No. You must could speak English? No. After must, you cannot use can and could. You're only allowed to use the simple form of verbs. So you're not allowed to use a modal verb like can or could directly after another modal verb like must. So we have to use be able to and say, you must be able to speak English. You must be able to speak English. One more example. I'm trying hard to be able to speak English. I'm trying hard to be able to speak English. Can we say I'm trying hard to can speak English? No. Can we say I'm trying hard to could speak English? Again, no. After to, after the infinitive structure of to, we should only use the simple form of verbs. We're not allowed to use modal verbs like can, could, should, may, and must. So we have to use be able to. I'm trying to be able to speak English. I'm trying to be able to speak English. So we can use can and could to talk about the ability to do something in the present and in the past. But at the same time, we can use be able to talk about the ability to do something in all tenses, especially when and where we cannot use can and could. So that is the difference between can and could and be able to. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure you like this video, give me a thumbs up in support of this channel. Thank you for doing so, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video.